What is up, folks? It's me, Michael Shockman, here with the first episode in the next season of Battletech Simplified. Gonna try and keep things a little bit less formal and a little bit more streamlined and casual for this season to try things out. And in this season, which is going to be about 6 months long, one video per month, we are going to be covering the autocannons of the various classes of autocannon and various differences and whatnot of the Battletech universe. In today's episode, for the first episode, we're going to be covering a brief history and overview of what an autocannon is and what makes up an autocannon. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Here we go. An autocannon is a type of rapid-firing, auto-loading, direct-fire ballistic weapon, firing high-explosive, armor-defeating rounds at targets in bursts. They are basically giant machine guns that fire predominantly cased explosive shells, though models firing sabot, high-velocity kinetic, energy-penetrating, and caseless ordnance do exist. Among the earliest modern tank/battlemech scale weaponry produced, autocannons generate far less heat than energy weapons, but are considerably bulkier and dependent on limited stores of ammunition. The autocannons range in caliber from 30mm all the way up to 203mm and are grouped according to their damage against modern armor. With these loose guidelines in mind, autocannons are divided into the following classes: Autocannon 2, aka AC2, Autocannon 5, aka AC5, Autocannon 10, aka AC10, and Autocannon 20, aka AC20. For going forward in this series, I will be referring to autocannons as ACs, just so you guys are aware. Beyond the standard models, variants include the shotgun-like LBX models, the quick-firing Ultras, the Gatling-type rotary versions, and the proto-mech autocannons as well. Lightweight variants and capital ship scale models also exist. The experimental hyper-velocity autocannon also entered limited production as well. Another interesting variant was the so-called improved autocannon of the early clans. Being slightly lighter and slightly more compact than equivalent standard autocannons, improved autocannons served as a stepping stone toward the development of the Clantech LBX and Ultra ACs. By the time of the clan invasion, improved autocannons were obsolete. That being said, early prototype autocannons were made as a progression forward from the rifle found on early tanks of Terra. The first AC5 system was prototyped in 2240. The AC2 came along later, with the first prototype debuting in 2290. The AC10 system was prototyped over 200 years later in 2443. The AC20 was first developed in 2490, and all of these prototypes were largely similar to modern autocannons, but they had rare tendencies to jam, locking up the weapon for the duration of the rest of the battle. They could only carry 3/4 of the ammunition per ton compared to modern autocannons. Standard autocannons can be tweaked by a technician to double their rate of fire, similar to an Ultra autocannon, an Ultra AC. However, this carries significant risk. Forcing an autocannon to fire at double its normal firing rate can jam the weapon. In the worst case, this causes detonation of the ammo in the cannon itself, destroying the weapon, as well as likely damaging the internal structure of the mount location. Last but not least, generally speaking, ACs are not... That's going to take me a little bit to get used to. ACs are not standardized by the actual caliber of the individual weapon. Instead, the number of shells fired are not are not standardized by the actual caliber of the individual weapon, the number of shells fired, or even the number of barrels they use. These descriptions can vary widely according to source material, even when comparing weapons of the exact same type. However, TRO portraits and descriptions occasionally provide some insight into each weapon's configuration. That being said, most autocannons are described as using a rotary arrangement to fire a burst, and larger weapons almost always have a correspondingly larger caliber. Indeed. However, there are exceptions. For example, ultra autocannons are often, but not always, described as rapidly firing single shells from one barrel. Likewise, LBX autocannons using standard shells are usually described as firing single shots, while on the other hand, standard autocannons and light autocannons are usually described as using a multiple barrel arrangement, but not always. All rotary autocannons are explicitly multi-barrel arrangements, however. And that, ladies and gentlemen, it covers the lowdown on the autocannon from the official source on Sarna.net. As my personal feelings of the autocannon, they are one of my favorite weapons to use on Battletech. An AC-20, honestly, when I'm playing the tabletop game, or not the tabletop, but the virtual version made by Harebrained Schemes, AC-20 is the thing that I aim for. The sooner I can get an AC-20 and load up as much ammunition in it as possible, even in a medium mech like a Hunchback, or I've even mounted one into a Centurion at one point, the better. The earlier, the better. AC-10s are also a really good option for early game. They're a lot more common, and the ammunition is also a lot more common. And honestly, if you're the main difference between, in my practical opinion, between the AC-10 and the AC-20 is that the AC-10 does a tiny bit less damage, but actually has a longer range, whereas the AC-20 is like the ultimate, like, get up in your face and blast your head off type autocannon. AC-5s are a good are equivalent to like a battle rifle type thing for a battle mech, and AC-2s are basically like, essentially they're mech size machine guns. They're better machine guns. They just have a longer range and do a significantly more damage, but they also don't fire. They don't carry as much ammunition and don't fire as quickly or as often. If you're going for an autocannon, I would highly recommend that you aim in an early thing. You go for an AC-10 at the very least. AC-5 is a stopgap, but if you can get it, if you can get one, get an AC-20 all the time, every time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to cover today's first episode in this 6-part series on autocannons in the Battletech universe. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned for the outro to find out how you can best support my work financially. And until next time, bye-bye for now. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Secondly, if stream bucks are plentiful, please consider supporting the channel either by subscribing on Twitch, pledging on Patreon, or by grabbing some merch over at the Shock Shop. The links to all of these will be in the About section and in the description down below. Again, thank you to all of our supporters for all of the likes, shares, and views. I really appreciate it, and without all of you, our work here would not be possible. I'm Michael Shockman, folks. I've been your host and commentator, and remember, keep it real, keep it safe, keep it healthy, and we will see you guys all again soon in the next one. Peace off, everybody.